I've been wearing barefoot shoes for over 4 years now, and although I think they're great, I also think they are overhyped. Let me tell you why. I've always been kind of a wild child. I loved running around barefoot when I was a kid. My feet have always been pretty wide, and for most of my life I've thought if only I could get rid of that pinky toe, shoes might even feel comfortable. So when I discovered barefoot shoes, I jumped right in. Wide toe box for unsquished toes, zero drop for better posture, and thin soles for better sensory input and balance. It sounded great. So I went down a research rabbit hole and tried to learn as much as possible. I found the subject fascinating, but at the same time, I was left with this feeling that I had been lied to all my life, thinking that I needed super cushy running shoes or else I would get injured. But the more I got into it, the more I was left with the feeling that if I kept using normal shoes, my feet would end up like a crooked mess of bunions, and I would end up with knee pain and back pain and pretty much get to my 30s or 40s with the feet and the posture of an 80-year-old. Obviously, I did what anyone else would do, and that is to throw away all of my shoes and save myself from crooked feet once and for all. Just kidding. Well, kind of. That was indeed my first impulse. I got rid of many pairs of shoes that I owned, gave some away and sold some, and bought myself some second-hand barefoot shoes. And as with many things in life, my point of view has slightly changed. My biggest problem with the barefoot shoe movement is that it's a little bit too all or nothing. So after a couple of years, I kind of regretted getting rid of some of those shoes because I really liked them, and I think there's a time and place for different options. I still really like barefoot shoes. I think they are really comfortable. As I said, I love walking barefoot, so that's pretty much the closest thing that there is to it. But they have some aspects to them that can be really inconvenient at times. Let's first get the obvious part out of the way. They are really, really expensive. When I first started wearing them, pretty much all of the pairs were $100 plus, and now some are even 200 or more, which if you want to have a couple of pairs that you rotate between, or some for hiking or more casual wear, you're setting yourself up for pretty much $500 plus just for 2 or 3 pairs of shoes. I think some brands might be higher quality, some brands might be better for the environment, but they are all pretty expensive, and it's more so a privilege than anything else. Let's talk about the benefits. This one might be a little bit controversial because people have really strong opinions, but I'm going to say it anyways. I think most people can have probably upwards of 50, if not 80% of the benefits without barefoot shoes. Just bear in mind that this is coming from someone who doesn't have any health issues, any aches or pains. When people talk about the benefits of barefoot shoes, there are really bold claims out there, and I'm not sure if I've really experienced any of them, to be quite honest. And no matter what I do, my pinky toes keep trying to escape. I think a lot of people can achieve most of the benefits just by being really barefoot more often, walking barefoot when they are at home, training or working out barefoot, being barefoot in nature, in your garden, outside the house, and maybe just start by choosing slightly better options. For example, people like to talk about normal shoes and barefoot shoes, but Nike Air Maxes are definitely not the same as Converse or Vans, for example. Nike Air Maxes are a little wider, but they have a huge sole with a lot of drops. Vans and Converse have pretty much the same sole, but Converse are really, really narrow. So there are many different options to choose from. Maybe try to wear flatter, thinner soles most of the time, and keep not so good soles for when you are just going out for dinner or something like that, and you just want to look nicer. By the way, that is, in my opinion, also a con of barefoot shoes. They are kind of ugly. The other problem that I see with those types of claims is that it's as if it was a one-size-fits-all solution, and that you're going to have all the benefits just by passively using the shoes. Unfortunately, what I've seen through my own experience is that they might help to strengthen your feet. Your gait might change a little bit. Your posture might be slightly better when you walk or move, but the benefits you get from solely using those shoes are going to be very limited to the feet you have when you start using them, what problems you currently have, and in many cases the shoes alone won't solve your problems. For me, for example, I wanted to improve my ankle mobility and my posture, and those two things didn't really change when I changed my shoes. They changed when I started doing more squats, when I tried to actively do exercises to improve my mobility, when I actively tried to strengthen my back, to be more mindful and conscious of how I was moving, the posture I had during the day. And I think that part is probably way more important than changing the shoes you're wearing. Analyze what other issues you have or what you'd like to improve and find ways to actively improve them. Something else that I think is not really talked about is the fact that you can't just use barefoot shoes in every situation. In my own life, for example, that applies to riding a motorcycle. You need a thicker sole for more grip or just safety reasons, or you need a shoe that just holds your feet better. I just can't do that with barefoot shoes. I don't think it's safe enough. And in that case, when I started riding my motorcycle, I had already gotten rid of many of my shoes and I had to buy new ones just for that purpose, so it really wasn't worth it. There are also other activities where you need specific shoes, like for example rock climbing, many jobs, even skateboarding, where shoes wear down pretty quickly, especially the sole, so a 3 or 5 millimeter sole just won't hold up long enough, and the list goes on and on. Finally, I want to touch upon barefoot running. This is what got me into barefoot shoes in the first place, and I think this is really important, especially for injury prevention. If you know a little bit about barefoot shoes, you know that you need a period of transition. You can't just go from using regular shoes to barefoot shoes all of the time, but this is especially true when it comes to running. As I said, it's been 4.5 years since I've been using barefoot shoes, and I still haven't fully transitioned to using barefoot shoes while running, and this is because the impact of running on the body is way bigger than walking, for example, and also because regular running shoes have even more cushioning and more drop. And so in my case, I first started running with like Adidas Energy Boosts or whatever, Ultra Boosts, I think, which are really cushioned. When I discovered barefoot shoes, the first thing I did was find out the amount of drop and the thickness of the sole those running shoes had, and then kind of make myself a long-term plan. And every time I bought new running shoes, I just bought them with a little bit less of a drop, a thinner sole, and maybe a wider toe box. I could have probably done this a little bit quicker, but I think it's really wasteful to simply throw away perfectly usable shoes, so I just use them until I can no longer use them and then go find another pair of shoes that are a little bit better. Like I said, I started with Adidas Ultra Boosts, then I think I swapped to another Adidas but with less sole, then I found the Saucony's whatever, which had a little bit less drop, and now I'm using some Ultras which have a wider toe box, less cushioning and less drop in general. And from now on, I'm probably going to be using a combination of Ultras and barefoot shoes, just because there are some instances where I do want a little bit more comfort or more cushioning. If you're running or walking, in any case, on really hard ground like cement, it's not really the same as walking on other natural surfaces. And that's pretty much all I have to say about barefoot shoes. Don't feel pressured with having to use them all of the time. Try to be barefoot more in general. Find ways to choose better options. And if you have certain problems that you need to address, find specific solutions for those problems. Don't think that barefoot shoes are going to solve them all. And very important, don't just go all in, especially when it comes to running. Transition slowly and smartly. And finally, use regular shoes if there are situations where you need to, or if you just want to. So that is going to be it for today, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give me a like and see you guys in the next one.